you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button. Join us. New from All Caps Comics, Cyberfrog, Unforgettable Tales on Indiegogo. 2 classic comics presented in color for the first time, plus a Blacklight Salamandroid poster. Back it today, links in the description below. Oh yeah, alright, it's Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and I'm Ethan Van Sciver. Yes, that's right, the Ethan Van Sciver, that one. World's most charming, elegant, eloquent, and yet humble man. Great big Star Wars fan. Trusted member of the media, and that would include Cosmic Book News. You know, just yesterday, somebody said to me, Ethan, you're not famous. You're infamous. And I said, well, I like my infamy. I love being infamous. It's awesome. Being famous is one thing. You could be famous and nobody cares, but infamy means people shiver when they speak your name, and I like that. Cosmic Book News published this article based on this beautiful, amazing, and informative YouTube channel, which if you're not subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe. We're watching the collapse of the comic book industry in real time. It's fun in a way, it's sad in other ways, but this is a big part of that. Make sure that you're subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications. Be a part of this family, and that family is Comicsgate. Here's the article. AT&T closing DC Comics if 5G fails, says Ethan Van Sciver. Well, I'm not sure I said it in those exact words, but yeah, possibly, perhaps. And look at this. What is this meant to represent here? Why? What is going on? Is this Batman's blood on these fingers? Where did these fingers come from? I don't want to know. I don't know why they're bloody. And I really don't want to know. All right, so here's the thing. Everyone is panicking about this article right now. Everyone in comics is like, oh my goodness. Well, don't believe Ethan. What does Ethan know? Well, I mean, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in the industry for ages. Was a DC Comics insider when I worked at DC Comics. I hung out with these people. I know them. And have a little bit of insight. On top of that, I've been getting tips from people who will remain nameless, who have kind of put together I think a picture, and the picture is becoming a little bit more clear every single day of the situation at DC Comics. Now, let's read a little bit of this, and I will actually fill in some blanks for you guys whenever I can. But I think Matt McGloin can be trusted to put the whole story together for you. Following news of the exit of Dan DiDio was co-publisher. He started out as EIC in 2002. I've known him for a long time. I like Dan DiDio. I really do. I thought he did a good job for the most part. He didn't always make decisions that I agreed with. I think he was obsessed with trivial minutia, and he was obsessed with making everything make sense all the time on a grand scale when it's comics. It really doesn't need to. I think sometimes he was obsessed with some of the more boring aspects of DC Comics history. But I liked him a lot. I really like Dan. He's a high energy guy. He is, he's able to care for and think about lots of people all at once, and that was great. Like when you're with him, you knew that he was only thinking about your career and your stuff, your projects. So he was cool. All right, but he's gone now, and some people are cheering, and they're saying this is great. This is an opportunity for DC to right its ship. I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that is the outcome of Dan DiDio leaving. This is the state of the comic book industry right now. Is that look, it's been 10 years, a 10-year-long war on customers by weird SJWs who were allowed to come into the comic book industry and make weirdo changes, and people have left, people have split, comic book stores have closed, look, I don't know how we come back from this. I really don't know how we come back from this. And on top of that, even if the comic book industry was going to continue to be happy, shrinking, and becoming kind of a niche marketplace, AT&T is not satisfied with that. AT&T doesn't care about comic books at all, not one bit. They don't have any kind of nostalgic fondness for pamphleteering, for little superhero pamphlets. They don't care about that. They care about the characters. They care about the characters. All right, so following the news of the exit of DC, it's being said that AT&T will close down DC Comics if its upcoming 5G event fails. This was imparted to me by somebody in the know, okay? And I can't tell you names. This was told to me by somebody who is one step away from a direct source. Now, okay, so that's something that we have to take with a grain of salt. I understand that. But I think that if we understand what the 5G event actually is and what it represents to AT&T and to DC Comics, it kind of makes sense that that would be the case. All right, so this is me. I said that someone within the industry filled him in that the 5G event fails, that AT&T will close the company. And here's some quotes from me. Blah, blah, blah. Why don't you use my artwork? Why are you using other people's artwork, Matt? You know, for goodness sakes. Van Skyver tweeted, we're watching the end of DC Comics happen in real time. 80 years of history. I can't believe it. If the DO is gone, replace him with Jeff Johns or go out of business. I fucking hate seeing this. I love DC Comics. That's absolutely true. All right, so the news that AT&T might be shutting down DC Comics isn't something new. As of last year in September, Forbes put it forth that AT&T might be considering selling off DC Comics as well. This was the start of things. This is when a big hedge fund came forward that represents $3.8 billion worth of stock, I believe, in AT&T, and they said, look, if you're going to do this merger, this is great. You guys are way, way, way in debt, and by way in debt, I mean like $160 billion in combined debt between AT&T and Warner Brothers, and the idea is the future. The idea is the future, guys. The future is to go streaming. It's to do Disney Plus. It's to do Amazon Prime. It's to do something to compete with Netflix. Television is also, I have bad news for you. Television is also going the way of the dodo, just like comic books will. It's going to end eventually because it's just there's a better model out there. Streaming is better. You get more options. You get more personal choice. And less advertising. It just makes sense that the consumer is going to point towards this. And all right, so comic books are kind of in the way. They're this kind of like vestigial tale of Warner Brothers publishing comic books. The comic book industry is 80 years old. It's shrinking. It isn't growing, and its entire reason for existing is to create stories and to create ideas to be exploited by these big corporations. Now, AT&T is saying, well, guys, like, what do you do? Why do we publish comic books? And their investors are saying, yes, why do you publish comic books? Why do you spend so much energy and so much time making this slim, tiny little profit, if it is profitable at all, when you could be expending those resources elsewhere? Do you really need to do this? Why don't you actually just become licensors and license these characters out to other comic book companies and just collect a paycheck? That's going to make infinitely more sense to AT&T going forward. Now, DC is saying, no, we're the guys, we're an idea farm. We still, even though we understand comics don't make a lot of money, that's not the point of us. The point is that for a very low price, we can hire out smart people, creative people, all right, who will come up with new ideas, new characters, new stories that you will automatically own. That used to be true. It is not true anymore. It is the comic book industry is not what it once was. It is now full of tumblerinas and weirdos who are not creating anything of value, and they are ruining the characters that already had value. They're changing them. They're insisting that these characters be run through kind of diversity mills. They kill off the original characters for being white male and replace them with black Eskimo, lesbians. And this is just, the comic book industry is shrinking because of this. But DC Comics is saying, no. We can actually produce something that will make your characters, your investment in our characters, your ownership of our characters even more valuable. And that thing was 5G. So they were scrambling to put together something called 5G, which would have represented the 5th generation of DC characters. And from all we're hearing all over the comic book media, it is a disaster. It has caused editors to walk off the project. It has caused, nothing, like all of their plans have been kind of undone. And it just isn't, it isn't working out, okay? It isn't working out. And just Friday, they brought Dan DiDio into the office and suddenly and swiftly gave him the axe, okay? So they fired Dan DiDio. And the question now, of course, is who's going to fill in for him. But I don't think it really matters. 5G was the thread from which DC Comics was hanging, and look, causing this kind of chaos and this much flux when really the company was scrambling to survive, to prove that it was valuable enough for AT&T to keep rather than to divest. It just doesn't send a good message. And at this point, I think the writing is very much on the wall. AT&T wants to go forward as a streaming service. They want to put out Batman movies, Batman TV shows. They want to, put out Batman product. They don't care about the comic books, and they no longer need DC Comics in-house talent to produce good Batman stories. They've already proven that Hollywood is filled with creative people who can do as good, if not a better job than this band, this batch of weirdos that are currently in the comic book industry. So this is where we're at right now, and people, I think, are in incredible denial about all of this. But this article is making the rounds, and everybody's so upset at me. Look, don't kill the messenger. I'm just figuring this out before you guys are. And I will tell you this: some very big names are reaching out to me about this, including one of the biggest names in the comic book industry. I'm about to have a conference call with him about this. This is absolutely the situation that we're facing right now. I don't know how to fix it. People are like, well, maybe putting someone else in there is going to fix things. Well, best case scenario, it will delay the inevitable, okay, and they'll be able to survive and keep publishing for another year. But AT&T has already kind of explained, they've already expressed kind of disinterest in publishing comic books, and their ambitions are much, much bigger than that. So it's going to be hard to win them over in terms of heart or nostalgia or even honor. They do not care about the comic book industry. And I will say this, the comic book industry has kind of earned it. This has been coming for a long time now. Sales in the late 90s, the last time that we faced this kind of calamitous near collapse, they were way higher than they are now. And that crash came because of comic book speculators who bought too many copies of Spider-Man #1, thinking that they were going to be able to resell them. There were there were a lot more stores, comic book retail shops back then, 2,000 more than there are now. That number is declining by 10% every year. We're looking at the end of the comic book industry, essentially. We're looking at things changing in a drastic way, either this year or next. Thank goodness for Comicsgate. Thank goodness for the fact that a bunch of really smart, independent, creative mavericks, such as myself, such as Richard C. Meyer, such as John Malin. Thank goodness that we're out there figuring out how to keep comic books alive via social media, via Indiegogo, crowdfunding, and this YouTube channel right here. And I thank you guys for supporting my comic book, Cyberfrog. Look, I made $1.1 million on the first Cyberfrog, and we're going to launch the second one in March in the midst of the collapse of the comic book industry all around us. It's as if we're in a lifeboat paddling away from the sinking Titanic, and you're in it with me. Thanks so much for watching this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Take a temperature of the room out there. I want you to kind of just lick your finger, stick it in the air, so to speak, in terms of Twitter and social media, and just feel the panic and at the same time, people just the denial of what's going on right now. Let's hope for the best, but it doesn't look good right now, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video, and I'll see you again later with another one. Bye-bye. Hello, potential Indiegogo backers. This is Ethan Van Sciver, and let me tell you about Cyberfrog 2, Wrecked Planet. In this follow-up to Blood Honey, Cyberfrog wakes up in the year 2018 to find the world has been devastated by vicious alien wasps called the Vespis. What remains of humanity has fled into the woods for survival. Disconnected from his brother Salamandroid and his mother's ship, Chel Sin, for Cyberfrog, fighting back will mean the worst loss of all. Now is your chance to sign up to be notified by email when this campaign launches in March. You'll receive an exclusive Vespis trading card with your backing when you do. No one else will get one, just you. And remember, everyone, stay calm, stay in the trees, stay near the smoke, and always wear red. See you in March. Hey, you want to follow me on Twitter? Are you sure? Well, if so, I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. That's at Ethan Van Sciver. See you there. Hey, I got a P.O. box. Want to send me some mail? Send it to Ethan Van Sciver, P.O. Box 607, Marlton, New Jersey, 08053. And I'll probably open it up on a live stream. Thanks very much, everyone.